Hello everyone and welcome back to Sample Sunday. Pretty big one today, something which was given in kindness from a customer and a friend. We have a sample of the 2022 release Benromach 40-year-old. Bottled at 57.6%, it is a 1982 vintage whiskey, fully matured in first fill sherry casks, limited to 1,132 bottles. Is coming in at £2,000 a bottle. Let's get that out of the way straight away. It's an expensive product, but luckily with Sample Sunday, this is just a part of the channel where we can just review really cool things, and this is indeed one of them. This was given to me by Etienne. Some of you probably follow his blog, The Malt Cask, or some of you probably follow him on Instagram. He has a massive Instagram following. We'll make sure I'll put all his stuff below. But yeah, he gave me this at a tasting we were both at the other day. Gave him some samples in gratitude, and hopefully he enjoys those. But I've got it sat here. It's been in the glass for about an hour. The sample itself is 3 centilitres, and he's given me probably about 1.5, which is still more than generous. So thank you very much, Etienne. I'm going to remove this. I've still got a fruit fly problem in this house, so I'm going to make sure none of them get in. But Benromach, a typically lightly peated Speyside, does a little bit of everything, is becoming more and more popular. Indeed, a certain YouTuber did a video on 2 Benromachs, one of which I thought was a little bit uncalled for, and the other one made the product sell out instantly. But here we go with 40-year-old Benromach. Well, the first thing is cinnamon. Not a very unusual note for a sherry matured whiskey, but a huge tablespoon of cinnamon. There's some nice, like, datey, figgy notes on this. Some nice orange oil notes as well. Cinnamon, figs, dates, orange. And I don't mean this in a sulphurous way, but there's also like an element of kind of like gunpowder to this. But it's not sulphur, it smells like a bonfire that's like still trying to live a couple of days after. Or indeed that kind of spent firework smell, but again, the day after, not necessarily on the night. The alcohol is still quite present. I mean, at 40 years old, 57.6%. That is quite a selection of casks. There's a little bit of honeycomb, which almost ventures into toffee-like flavours. And there's also a nutty thing to it, but it's like pecan and maple syrup as well. There actually is a really nice kind of salted caramel, rum and raisin ice cream quality to this. Well, it's 40 years old, so I'm going to try and keep it in the mouth for 40 seconds, so you might want to skip ahead at this bit. There's about 40 seconds. 2 things we have to talk about. One is the texture of this thing, and the other one is chocolate. Now again, sherry casks and chocolate notes, not particularly unusual, pretty common. This thing tastes like every type of chocolate I've ever tasted in my entire life. The first note is cocoa powder. Cocoa powder, that gunpowdery smoke, which is turning a tiny bit sulphurous, but it's quite complementary to the sweet note. Then that morphs into like milk chocolate, brownie mix, like fresh fudgy chocolate brownie. The orange note comes back a little bit, the pecan note comes back a little bit. There's this nutmeggy, tonka bean, vanilla, allspice, almost Irish coffee quality to it. The texture of the thing is just incredible. It feels sticky. Like once it hits one part of your mouth, it's like it doesn't really want to go away. It just kind of clings there. Something I haven't said is that with it being a Benromach product, it is natural colour and it is non-chill filtered too. But again, to smell it on the nose, there's like a slight cocoa powder thing, but there's not all of that just insane richness that's on the palate. I'm picking up some mint on the finish. This was matured solely in sherry casks, but I assume some of those sherry casks would have been American oak. It's not a single barrel either, it is a collection of casks. But there's a little minty note at the end. There's some nice kind of bitter, walnut, almost vermouth-like feel to it. It's got the finish like the last glug of a Manhattan, or a Rob Roy in this case. I feel quite conflicted because it's a wonderful whiskey. We're not going to give it a score because this is Sample Sunday. It's excellent whiskey. It is very expensive. In the grand scheme of whiskey, it's relatively cheap compared to what other 40-year-olds are. This is the second release at £2,000 a bottle. The first release from 2021 was £1,500 a bottle. So if you have that money spare and you want a 40-year-old whiskey, I don't see why you wouldn't look at anything else that isn't this. Purely in terms of taste, quality, and value at that price point. But the thing that instantly jumps into my mind is it as good as that Highland Park 30? Which isn't cask strength, that I'm aware of. And they're both doing different things. The Highland Park is more like fresh fruit and stone fruit. This is more deep and rich and kind of unctuous and indulgent. And the smoke is just bonfire night in a glass. That wasn't as long, I know. I think I'm going to put the rest of that back into the sample bottle. We didn't cover the finish too much. So the finish now, on the second sip, we're tasting a lot of oak. That's understandable. But we also have, again, those insane chocolate notes. Those tonka bean, vanilla-y spice elements to it, along with the oak too. The oak is like zingy and fizzy. It's not this really boring, like just long drying thing. I keep trying to like refresh my tongue to pick out some flavours on it, but it's all of the nice things. It's all of the nice things that are in desserts and coffee. Like the finish now, it's like this combo of mint and like really good fruity espresso, like blueberry kind of espresso. Excellent whiskey. Benromach. Fair play to you lot, but to be fair, you've not really put a foot wrong. Yeah, excellent whiskey. Thank you very much, Etienne. Thank you, Benromach, for bottling that. Very fun. But yes, that was the 2022 release of Benromach 40, and I'll see you all next week. Cheers.